नमस्कार. आयच्या ह्या खाशेल्या डिबेटात तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. विशय हा तो कोमुनदादींचो. इतल्याच कारणां खातीर कारण कोमुनदादीचेर गोंयभर चर्चा जाता, विधानसभे भितर चर्चा जाता, विधानसभे भायर चर्चा जाता. फाटल्याय सेशनात आमी पळयलें कितली चर्चा जाली ती. आनीक आतां सरकार एक अशी ऑर्डिनन्स हाडपाक सोदता की तातूंतल्यान एकदां कोमुनदादीची जमीन खंयच्याय एका पर्पजा खातीर दिली की ताजे उपरांत ताजो लँड यूज चेंज करपाक मेळचो ना. ही अमेंडमेंट खरेंच कितली जमनी आमच्यो साल्वार करतली, कितली जमनींचो मिसयूज प्रिवेंट करतली आनी हातूंतल्यान कितें साध्य जावपाक शकता आनी ओवरऑल कोमुनदाद एज एन इन्स्टिट्यूशन हाका फायदो आसा काय कितें. तीन मानेस्त आमचे स्टुडियो भितर पयले आसात भारतीय जनता पक्षाचे फुडारी आनीक तांचे स्पोक्सपर्सन एडवोकेट यतीश नायक. दुसरे आसात म्हणजे गोंयांतले एक नामनेचे व्हेरी सिनियर ब्युरोक्रेट एक रिटायर जाल्यात पण अजूनय कायद्यांचेर गोंयच्या काम करतात ते एन डी अगरवाल सर, वेलकम. आनी तिसरे आसात गोंयांतले नामनेचे आदवोगाद आमदार काँग्रेसीचे ज्येश्ठ फुडारी कालूसबाब पेरेर. कालूसबाब वेलकम. हांव कालूसबाब तुमचे कडच्यान सुरवात करता. राजकारणी म्हणूनच न्ही, आमदार म्हणूनच न्ही, जाल्यार कायद्याचो अभ्यास आशिल्ले जाणकार म्हणून तुम्ही हे अमेंडमेंटाचे स्वागत करतात काय तुम्ही कितें विथ अ पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट बी?
सो हांवें एक स्टेटमेंट केल्लो
हय
की कायदो हाडलो तो इफेक्टीव आसपाक जाय. इफेक्टीव म्हणल्यार कितें, केन्ना तूं चेंज करपाक दिता ते केन्ना इफेक्टीव जातलो. कित्याक आमकां आनी लोकांक कळोंक जाय की पयलो कोमुनिदाद कायदो कितें. कोमुनिदाद वॉज एक्चुअली एग्रेरियन आनी कॉपरेटीव मुवमेंट आशिल्लो, तेश कोन्न आशिल्लो कोमुनिदाद. पीपल पूल देयर लँड टुगेदर फॉर ग्रेटर कॉमन कल्टिवेशन आनी मागीर दे वर एन्जॉयींग द प्रॉफिट्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ zones or dividends. तेश कोन्न आशिल्ले. Comunidades are different kinds. There are comunidades which are only joneros, so-called joncar. There are others which are mixed, joneros and shareholders. And there are also comunidades only of shareholders, like Morgonchi comunidad is only shareholders. There are no joncars. So these are different kinds of comunidades which we have. People hold different rights in the comunidad, and therefore comunidad basically started with agrarian. And that is why you see a lot of agriculture has been sustained across the centuries in Goa because of comunidades. And little parcels of the land were being given for houses. Even there is a provision that even for industry it can be given. Ata ki zala, your question specifically is about the present ordinance. It's a good move to bring an ordinance to prevent change of use of land when it is given for one purpose. But why was this ordinance needed? Because before this ordinance, there was no provision which specifically barred anybody from using land given for one purpose for another purpose. First part. Second part, any law, and especially substantive law, procedural law is different. Substantive law is prospective in operation. But aizson kaido gailo, from today it will operate. The next question is, what happens about rights which are already vested in the individuals by the previous grants? How can that affect those? Because those people have absolutely acquired perfect title, passed the land sometimes to somebody else or their own descendants, maybe down the second and third generation. How do you arrest or stop this kind of a change of those previously with those rights? Unless you make the law retrospective, that is what I am on. Unless
you want the law to be made retrospective?
Then the question is, what point of retrospectivity?
Yeah, correct. Very important point, Magista. Sir, you have set the tone very perfectly for this debate. Agarwal sir, when you look at this ordinance, do you think it will serve its purpose, number one? Number two, the issue of effectiveness that Carlos Bab raised.
Well, I agree, Dr. Carlos. Act is good, but what I feel in my service career also, we make a very good law, very good purpose, but implementation we are fail. See, in 1964 we enacted the law of the Agriculture Tenancy Act with the simple object we want to protect the agriculture in Goa. There is a provisions if the 2 years landlord or tenant not cultivated land, government take the management of the land, a government will give to the person who want to cultivate it. Now from 1964 till today, how many cases, not a single cases, government took the position. We made a law, Indian Land Revenue Code, if somebody illegally converted the land,
Yeah.
collector given the power to restore in his own position. Whether we implement it, so we are making the law is good, but what will be happen for the implementation? What is the accountability on the officer? If you not implement it, you will be penalized. We made number of the law
Yeah.
where the accountability given to the officer, but whether we have implemented those provisions, time bound delivery act, under this provision of construction of the Communidade land, if anybody constructed illegally and concerned officer has been informed, if he is not taken the action, every day he has to pay the fine from his salary.
Correct.
So my only simple questions are there, you make a law. Every year we are amending the Communidade Act. 23 we amended, 24 we amended. This is coming the second amendment in 24. We make a law one time sitting, so the law every time you change it, people may not be aware of what is the law.
Absolutely. या व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट यतीश बाब दोन मुद्दे आहेत. एक जो कालूस बाबान काढलो तो इफेक्टिवनेस आणि एक जर हाजी एक आर्ग्युमेंट सदांच येता की ऑलरेडी कोमुनदादीच्यो कितल्योश्योच जमनी ह्यो गेल्यो म्हणून. सो ह्या कायद्यांतल्यान त्यो काय परत हाडप जावची ना, कारण कायद्याची इफेक्टिवनेस आसतलो प्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह. कालूस बाब म्हणटात रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह जातलो जाल्यार केन्ना सावन रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह करपाचो. आणि एक दुसरी गजाल जी अगरवाल बाबान बरी भशेन काडली की फायनली तो लॉ तितलो इफेक्टिवली इम्प्लिमेंट जावपा जाय, नाल्यार कायदो केलो आनी तो गॅझेटाक पब्लीश जालो आनी मागीर ताजें कांयच जायना, ही परिस्थिती येवपा जायना.
कशें आसा न्ही, दोतोर कालुशान सांगले ते भशेन एक गोष्ट लक्षांत धरपा जाय. दोतोर कालुशान प्रिल्यूड दिला कोमुनदादीचो, सो ताजेर हांव आनी उलयना काय, बिकॉज दॅट इज द बॅकग्रावंड ऑन वीच द इन्स्टिट्यूशन केम इन टू बीइंग. पूण एक सांगपा सोदतां की हो सबस्टॅन्टिव्ह लॉ आनी तो प्रोस्पेक्टिव्हूच आसूंक शकता, तो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह आसूंक शकना, दोतोरांनी सांगलें. पूण तुमकां एक सांगूंक सोदतां की गव्हर्नमेंटाक हें ऑर्डिनन्स हाडपाचें रिजन कितें. दोतोरांनी सांगलां की आज पर्यंत, आनी मोर इम्पॉर्टंटली बिकॉज दोतोर अपार्ट फ्रॉम हीज पॉलिटिकल दिस इज MLA इज ऑल्सो सिनियर लॉयर, म्हणून आय एम अटॅचिंग मोर दिस टू हीज वर्जन दॅट प्लीज अंडरस्टँड दॅट आज पर्यंत असो कायदो नाशिल्लो. हें ऑपोजिशनान लक्षांत दवरपाक जाय. म्हणजे बाकीचे जे कितें रँडम उलयता पळय, आज पर्यंत असो कायदो नाशिल्लो. सो हो कायदो गरजेचो आशिल्लो. आतां हांव तुका एक सांगता, जेन्ना 324 आर्टिकल 324 अंडर आफ्रामेंत एम्फिटियस ताज्या अंडर तूं जागो मागता, एप्लिकेशन करता, तेन्ना 329 ज्या तरेन एप्लिकेशन करचें पडटा पळय, तातूंत खूब क्रायटेरिया आसा, खूब गोश्टी बरोवच्यो पडटा. तातूंत एक गोश्ट आसता प्रोपोज्ड यूज, ही गोश्ट बरोवची पडटा. आनी ती प्रोपोज्ड यूज ती गोश्ट बरोवन जेन्ना कोमुनिदाद तुका ग्रांट करता बाय फॉलोईंग ऑल द प्रोसिजर रुटेड थ्रू एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर एंड ऑल दॅट, टेम्पररी पोजेशन, मागीर डेफिनेटीव पोजेशन येता. डेफिनेटीव पोजेशन तुज्या 337च्या नंतर तुजें जातकूच मागीर तुका रूल 10 अंडर तुका तूं 4 रेमीट करतकच तुका रूल 10 इशू जाता. सगळें तें कायद्याचें जें प्रावधान आसा दॅट इज वन पार्ट. पूण तुमकां सांगपाचें म्हणल्यार गव्हर्नमेंटाक ही गायडलायन इशू करची पडली कित्याक जेन्ना एका मनशाक नाल्यार एका इन्स्टिट्यूशनाक जागो ग्रांट जाता, इट इज फॉर अ पर्टिक्युलर प्रोपोज्ड यूज. अश्यो गोश्टी लक्षांत येता, सगळ्यांच्या येता, की एक जागो जो पर्टिक्युलर रिजना खातीर अलॉट जाता मनशाक नाल्यार इन्स्टिट्यूशनाक, तो भलतोच यूज वता घालता, अँड दॅट इज नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ द स्कीम ऑफ द कोड. आतां रूल 10 सुद्दां इशू जातकच तातूंत सुद्दां कायद्याची प्रावधानां आसा. म्हणजे आय नो अबाउट द जजमेंट्स ऑफ आवर हायकोर्ट ऑल्सो ऑन दीस सब्जेक्ट. इट इज ऑन वॉट बॅकग्रावंड ऑल्सो वी नो अबाउट इट. बट मोर स्पेसिफिकली असो कायदो जाय आशिल्लो टू अरेस्ट दीस पर्टिक्युलर सॉर्ट ऑफ हॅपनिंग की एका गोष्टी खातीर अलॉट जाल्लो जागो दुसऱ्याच गोष्टी खातीर
यूज
सी
जावपाक जायना
10 वर्सां जशी जाली आणि रूल 10 जसो इश्यू जालो म्हणजे 4 रेमीट करून 20
हय.
वर्सांचो हे ते मागीर विकपाक मेळटा ट्रान्सफर करूंक मेळटा जागो ही गोष्ट सेटल्ड आसा इन टर्म्स ऑफ द कोड ही इज एब्सोल्यूट ओनर टू दॅट एक्सटेंट बट पर्पज ज्या गोष्टी खातीर अलॉट जाला आणि
तो
रूल
कम्प्लिटली चेंज जावपाक जायना
जायन आणि रूल 10 सुद्धा थोड्याश्यो गोष्टी आसा ह्या गोष्टीन बरयल्ल्यो आणि इवन आमच्या हायकोर्टान सुद्धा जजमेंटान दिला तातून सुद्धा जर फायन प्रिंट जर वाचत जाल्यार दिस ऑर्डिनन्स आणि दिस प्रपोज लॉ कम्प्लिटली फिट्स इन टू द स्कीम ऑफ
Okay.
द बॉडी ऑफ लॉ
ओके म्हाका मुद्दम हे विचारपाक कालूस बाब तुमकां की हाजी फाटभूंय कितें तुमी एक बरो प्रश्न काडलो की कित्या लागून ही ऑर्डिनन्स आयली आनी खूब जाणां हो प्रश्न पडटलो की सरकाराक कित्या तकलें आयलें आतांच ही ऑर्डिनन्स काडपाची हे प्रकार जायनाशिल्ले हांव जेन्ना 4-5 जाणां कडेन उलयलो ताणें म्हाका सांगलें आरे कितल्यो गेल्यो मरे ऑलरेडी जमनी सरकार इतले लेट कित्याक जागी जालें काय म्हण सो आजूच जागी कित्याक जाले हो प्रश्न जेन्ना आयलो तेन्ना एक गजाल म्हजी तकल्यात जी येता ती म्हळ्यार ह्या असेंब्ली भितर गाजिल्ली ती जुवारी दिल्ल्या जाग्याची केस आनी तातूंतल्यान हो सगळो बोवाळ सुरू जालो आनी घडये ताकाच लागून सरकारान चिंतलें आसतलें की बाबा येदी व्हडली प्रकरण जेन्ना जाता जाल्यार ल्हान ल्हान प्रकरणां कितलीं जाल्लीं आसतलीं तुमी आमदार आसात तुमी विधानसभेत आसात पण जुवारीच्या विशयाचेर तुमकां नंबर 1 हे दिसता की त्या विशयाक लागून ही ऑर्डिनन्स आयल्या काय कितें नंबर 2 तुमी हाजेर कित्याक उलयले नात
हांव एक सांगता
हय
आनी तुवें बरो प्रश्न विचारला कित्याक लोकांक कळ्ळी हांव इलेक्शनां बसनी पयलें 3 वर्सां पयलें एक नारायण नायक म्हणलोलो सांकवालचो आयिल्लो तो आयिल्लो म्हाका फायल घेवन एंड ही वॉज सेंट बाय सम फ्लॅजलिंग पॉलिटिकल पार्टी एट दॅट टायम म्हाका मेळ्ळें हांवें सगळी फायल वाचली जुवारीची फायल आनी हांवें ताका ओपिनियन दिलो की इन माय व्यू देर इज नो केस टू फायट टू रिवर्ट द लँड बॅक to Communidade or to anybody because Zuari has become absolute owner of the land. After that, about 2-3 months later, Congress party lok aile maka melpak. And he same file dakoili in the same order. I म्हणला ही फायल हांवें पळयली हांव पेज टू पेज पासून जाणा हेजी आनी हांव इन केस ना कित्याक हांवें एक पळयल्लें इन द फायल that grant was made for on amphitheosis to Zuari somewhere 1968 or 1969. Second, 71 they had definitive possession given. They redeemed the ground rent, and in my view, upon redemption of the ground rent, you have rights which are irreversible. And third, there was one more factor which many people may not know. There was a sale deed also done by the Communidade in favor of Zuari agrochemicals. I am not a stupid person. तेन्ना पयले सेशनाक संकल्प आमोणकारान रेस केल्लो इशू आनी म्हाका दिगंबर आमचो आशिल्लो तेन्ना दिगंबर कामत तें म्हाका सांगलें कालूच तूं उलय हांवें म्हणलें उलयना लॉस करपाक म्हाका नाका I will not talk simply for the sake of shouting as an opposition MLA. मायकल लोबो आयलो आनी सांगलें म्हाका ही वॉज विथ काँग्रेस एट दॅट टायम दोतोर उलय तूं कायदो जाणा हांवें म्हणलो कायदो जाणा देखून तुका सांगता केस ना म्हण थिंगा सो आय डिडंट स्पीक देन ड्युरींग टी ब्रेक हांवें तांकां सांगलां ही फायल हांवें पळयली दोन पार्टी आनी केस ना डोंट एम्बेरस आय डोंट वॉन्ट टू गो एंड सपोर्ट एनीबडी बट दीस इज द फॅक्ट एंड दीस इज द लॉ इतलें जालां हांव मागीर हायकोर्टान गेला राव एक मातशें सांगता I went to the High Court. Same question was asked by one young lawyer to me. Doctor, why did you not stand up? And I said, this is my opinion. And another lawyer who has now become senior advocate along with me, Sandesh Padiyar, he said, you are right. There are two judgments of our High Court which say that Zuari is the absolute owner of the land and the Communidade has no right. In fact, then I got the copies of the judgments. I have them with me, but I will come to it a little later. It says, please understand this, please bear with me for a moment, I will explain a little bit. Communidade land cannot be granted by managing committee. You have to have an application. The application is processed through the general body. It goes to the government. That time governor. And then governor approved the grant and then the Communidade gave provisional possession. Once provisional possession is given, you have to bring the land to use within 4 years for what it was granted, and that is 1/5 of the land has to be brought to that use. If it is not brought within that 4 years, and you get plus 1 year extension. If you don't bring within that time or extended time, only during that time the comunidad can revert the land back to itself. After you have brought the land to use, on 1/5 of the land to use during the provisional possession period, and you show the comunidad that I have completed my commitment which I had to do, comunidad gives you definitive possession. So post definitive it is called, which is final possession. When they give you final possession, the law is that the land is irreversible, the grant is irreversible. Only what that man has to do is he has to pay you the 4, which is the annual rent. There is a provision also in the law which says that after you have got definitive possession, if you pay 20 annuities in one installment, you become absolute owner of the land. And this was the exact answer given by a High Court. 2 judgments. One is called Basilia Gomes, and the other is where Comunidad of Sanqual itself filed a case, saying that
दोतोर प्रश्न हो येता की आता लेटस तुम्ही प्रॉस्पेक्टिव्ह आणि रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव्हाचो विशय काढलो म्हणून आज मेरेन कितलीशीच जमीन जी जुवारीची आसा ती दुसरी पर्पजा खातीर डायवर्ट जाली, जाचेर कॉन्क्रीट सगळे दोळ्यांनी दिसता थंय आनी एविडन्स बिविडन्स मागपाची गरज ना. हाजे मुखार बिकॉज ऑफ दीस ऑर्डिनन्स ती स्टॉप जावपाक शकता.
See, land, that's why I was saying you have to look at the retrospective angle. Kityak, once you have vested right, where you become absolute owner. I will just read you one sentence. There was a Comunidad of Chorão. There was a judgment. 1906, the land was granted. Provisional possession was granted. 1908, definitive possession was granted. Then they tried to say, notification came somewhere in 1980 or 84 for acquisition of the land, 80. That person went and paid the 20 times 4 in 1980. Think of it. And then the Comunidad went to say that nothing doing, this amount of 20 times was paid by a fraud in connivance with this. And what did the High Court hold? Once you gave definitive possession, you had inspected the land and you found that they fulfilled the criteria. You can't go back in time and check it. Now I'm reading this. And the net result is there is no provision for reversion of land granted on affirmation basis once the final definitive possession is delivered, and on remission of 4, the land vests absolutely in the allotee. So you see this, if in case of Zuari, there was no need for them to go and make a sale deed, but they went still and made a sale deed. Sometimes the question is asked whether sale deed can be done by a comunidad. Answer is yes. Article 30, clause 4, F speaks of amphitheosis, exchange or sale of land. Comunidad can sell land.
Yeah, but on that point, Uttara,
wait, I'm coming to answer your thing specifically. Now today, Zuari gave part of its land for Zuari tanking. You've seen that. Zuari has given part of its land to BITS Pilani Goa campus. Now I'm told that Zuari is doing some development and sale of the land for purpose of housing project or something like that. These have already happened. How do you reverse this?
What next? What about the rest of the land? Can they still go ahead after this ordinance and continue doing what they have been doing?
I ask you a simple question.
Yeah.
When the Code of Comunidades came into force in 1961, which was just before liberation it came into force, the code provided only one method of grant of land, which is by auction. The amendment for auction was brought in later on, 1984 or something like that it came, without auction. As far as without auction is concerned, I believe you are getting at a discounted rate. You are getting a preference. So there's no question of you changing that land, and you can put fetters on that. What about me? If I come as a bidder and buy some property at an auction, why should I have restrictions prohibiting me? It will be challenged in the court. You're understanding? I paid full market value, probably more than the market value. And I paid in those days. I become absolute owner. I'm holding that. And suddenly you're bringing a law.
Okay.
It will be challengeable. Now, that's why I said, the question is, prospective application to cases granted now. Remember this. Retrospective application to those which were granted earlier. How does it work?
How does it work? Yeah. I'll come to you. अगरवाल सर तुम्ही सांगा म्हाका कारण दिस अ व्हेरी व्हेरी पर्टिनंट क्वेश्चन. जुवारीची जमीन कितलीशीच डायवर्ट जाल्या आनी हांव जुवारी एग्जाम्पल म्हण इतल्याच खातीर घेता बिकॉज दॅट इज द बॅकड्रॉप ऑन वीच दीस ऑर्डिनन्स हॅज कम इन टू एक्झिस्टन्स. Prospectively, will this ordinance stop Zuari from doing what it has been doing? Agarwal sir.
I don't think now.
Okay.
So Juari become an absolute owner. Now you cannot do anything for that because they are the owner of the property.
Even after this ordinance?
Yeah. So there is no provision left कि he can, if do anything violation of any condition, it can be go back. As Dota rightly say, they have purchased the land. So you cannot do anything for that.
तुमकां तातूंत भितर ताजो फायदो prospectively you are saying as far as the Zuari case is concerned it is difficult.
Difficult. It is difficult.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
The cases here after
It
you are saying
will be
applicable.
It will be applicable. It will be applicable.
Yeah. So before I go to Yatish Babu, एक question अगरवाल भाई very important. तुम्ही येदो मुद्दो काढलो की कोमुंदात कोड आणि एक परत अमेंड जायत आसा.
Okay.
What do you suggest? कारण tomorrow एक Zuari case comes, we do this tweaking. Another case will come, then we will do another tweaking. What do you suggest to the government?
In the code of Communidade, in the beginning, as we nowadays when we submitting the assembly any bill, we made a statement of object. In the beginning of a code of Communidade, it is suggested whenever the amendment is proposed to be happen, there should be long thinking, there should be proper thinking, there should be a committee to be framed, or they should think for all the whatever the prospective amendment we require. We want to change in the law. Law cannot be changed as when I think I want to change the law, we change the law. It cannot be. It should be completely thinking. थोड़ा अभी क्या है
360 degree thinking.
360 डिग्री थिंकिंग होना चाहिए. सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट उसमें है. आज क्या प्लस पॉइंट है, व्हाट इज द माइनस पॉइंट नाउ, why we want to amendment.
It cannot be case specific.
It should not be case specific. It become a mockery of the law. I say, I'm sorry to say, but it become a mockery of the law because I have the power, I will correct this. I have the power, I correct it. एक एक साल में दो बार एक ही लॉ को अमेंड करना, I think this is not proper. It appears something.
Yeah. Yatish Bab, दोन्ही मुद्दे आहेत. एक जुवारीचा मुद्दा. Do you think this helps in the Zuari case prospectively or because Zuari is absolute owner already established, ही ऑर्डिनन्स जुवारीच्या केसीक लागची ना. तुमच्यान स्टार्ट करूया. सर
2 मिनटां सारकी उलोवपाक
सारके प्लीज.
324
हय
एक आफ्रामेन नाल्यार एम्फिथियस दिवंक शकता फॉर अनकल्टिवेटेड अंडर डेव्हलप प्लॉट्स म्हणजे रेजिडेन्शियलाक जायत, कल्टिवेशनाक जायत, वेजिटेबलाक जायत, ऑल दॅट इज देर. 329 सांगता proposed use has to be mentioned in the application. 334A सांगता की Comunidade can, notwithstanding anything, grant subject to guidelines as the government may from time to time issue for grant of lease not more than 10,000 square meters to educational societies or construction playgrounds etc etc. मागीर तातूंत public charitable institutions हे ते सगळे. मागीर तूं आसा की institutions of public utility associations, professional bodies तांकां सुद्दां दिवंक शकता not more than 10,000 square meters. मागीर not measuring up to 2 lakh square meters Comunidade दिवंक शकता for educational, health institution etc etc. कायद्यान आसा तें. Now provided further that the scheme for which such a grant is made on lease shall be scheme which is duly approved by the government and for which a certificate of no objection has been issued by the government. म्हणजे गव्हर्नमेंट हातून तुका पर्पज जो आसा तो नमूद जाता आणि गव्हर्नमेंट त्या बेसिसाचेर दिता. सारकें?
करेक्ट.
आता डेफिनेटिव्ह पोझिशन जेन्ना दिता 337च्या अंडर तातून पळय कशें आसा. Amphitheaters within 3 years after end of the period set out in 341 or extended up to 342 is bound to apply to administrator for definitive possession of the land granted on amphitheaters. म्हणजे कितें, तो लँड जो ग्रांट जाता पळय इट इज अगेन्स्ट दॅट पर्टिक्युलर पर्पज. सारकें? आता रूल 10 पळया, मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टंट वाचता हांव. नो मागीर शोरांव जजमेंटाचेर येता. हांव फक्त दाखोवंक सोदतां की जें सरकारान केलां तें रायट इंटेन्शनान कायदो ना थंय कायदो करून गोंयच्या बऱ्या खातीर कायदो हो हाडला. दॅट आय वॉन्ट टू शो. आतां रूल 10 पळय. allotted land not to be transferred. No transfer of allotted land or building erected thereon shall be made before expiry of 10 years. After a period of 10 years, if the said land or such building are to be transferred, it shall be done only with the prior approval of the administrator of communidades. So administratorचे approval लागतं. Rule 8 पळे. Allottee to take permission for conversion of land use. Allottee shall take permission for conservation of land use under Goa Land Revenue Code whenever change of land use is intended after allotment. म्हणजे ते रिस्ट्रिक्शन आशिल्लें पूण एनफोर्स करपा खातीर हे 31A हाडून सरकार actually has done a fantastic thing where you have bought a law in operation with a perfect clear mandate. Let us not jump to anything. Just give me a minute. आता दोतोरान शोराव जजमेंट वाचलो पळय. This was 2018 आमच्या हायकोर्टाचो जजमेंट हो. आता दोतोरान वाचला तो 29 पेरा. हांव तुका 28 एंडिंग दाखयता. This court inter alia held so and so in para 8 of the judgment the grant of affirmento in terms of 324 the code of communidades and the contract of empathy is of permanent nature. This court further went on to hold that 1673 of the Portuguese civil code inter alia provides that Amphithea has a right to enjoy property and to dispose of as his own save as the restrictions expressed in the law. म्हणजे हांव तुका कितें म्हणटा आणि in terms of restrictions imposed under law ते आता 31A. आता फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हांव रिवर्शनाचे उलयना बिकॉज रिवर्शनाचे केन्ना जावंक शकता पळय दॅट इज इन द कोड ते आसा. आय एम टॉकिंग ऑफ 31A विच इज बॉट आणि हांव तुका सांगूंक सोदतां की सबस्टँटीव लॉ दोतोर स्टार्टेड इट ऑन दॅट नोट अँड देरफॉर इट इज बेटर कमिंग फ्रॉम एन ऑपोजिशन MLA ऑल्सो बिकॉज सबस्टँटीव लॉ प्रोस्पेक्टिव्हच आसूंक शकता तो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह आसूंक शकना. सो आज जर कोण अलॉटी जो पर्पजा खातीर लँड ग्रांट केला अफ्रामेंत एम्फिटियस जायत ग्रांट केला तो जर बदलूंक सोदता जाल्यार ताका कायदो तो बदलूंक दिना बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ 31A.
व्हॉट हॅपन्स इन केस ऑफ जुवारी.
तुका सांगले न्ही हुएवर प्लीज अंडरस्टँड हुएवर वॉन्ट्स टू चेंज द यूज ऑफ लँड ताका हे रिस्ट्रिक्शन लागतले. कित्याक एक मिनिट ऐक लेट मी रीड इट न्ही पळय ऐक न्ही हुएवर आय एम सेइंग ऐक 31A जे इंट्रोड्यूस करूंक सोदता पळय प्रपोज्ड अमेंडमेंट आतां मुद्दम ऐक हातून जेन्ना फॉर अदर देन द ओरिजिनल अलॉटेड पर्पज जेन्ना मनीस चेंज करूंक सोदता दॅट इज फोरबिडन. Upon detecting unauthorized use, administrator has got the power to issue show cause to the grantee or individual in possession. Taka explain kurun possession, finding diun inquiry conduct kurun, administrator will have the authority to order reversion of land back. Now, therefore it is a welcome thing. म्हणजे जर कोणूय अलॉटी
प्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह पण
कोणूय रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव्ह हे करपाक व सबस्टँटिव्ह तुका सांगले न्ही
बरोबर.
आता लेट मी जस्ट पॉइंट आउट लेट मी जस्ट पॉइंट आउट पळय लक्षात घे म्हणून हांव तुका 31A ह्या डिटेलान व्हरतालो म्हणून हांवें तुका बॅकग्राऊंड दिला. अंडरस्टँड इट 31A येवन आतां तूं जर चेंज केलो पर्पज जाल्यार एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हॅज गॉट द पॉवर ऑफ रिवर्जन.
करेक्ट.
सो म्हणून जो कोण करूंक सोदता ताका वो डिटरिंग मेजर जातले. जो कोण आता हे कन्वर्ट करूंक आणि तातून आनी एक आसा proposed amendment and you have to support the government and appreciate the government because तुका हांव सांगता additionally once such a restraining order is passed no authority म्हणजे टाउन प्लॅनिंग हे ते PDA कितें आसूं तें will be permitted to issue permissions clearances approvals or no objection certificate to the land in question.
What is he reading?
I am showing to you what is the intention. What is the intention of the ordinance? म्हणजे हांव तुका कित्याक सांगता अंडरस्टँड दिस आय एम रिडींग द इंटेंशन. एकदा 31A आयले आणि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटराक पावर दिली की हे रिवर्ट करपाक म्हणजे इफ ही वायलेट्स इफ दॅट पर्सन वायलेट्स द चेंज ऑफ यूज जाल्यार म्हणजे अलॉटेड युजाचो चेंज केलो अनऑथरायझली विच इज नॉट परमिटेड चेंज करपाक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हॅज गॉट द पॉवर टू ऍक्ट आणि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर ऍक्ट केले म्हणटकच नो स्टॅच्युटरी ऑथॉरिटी इज बाउंड टू गिव्ह परमिशन.
पण यतीश व्हेरी बिफोर आय गो टू कार्लोस बाब अगेन व्हेरी स्पेसिफिकली फॉर एक्झाम्पल कारण जुवारीच्या बॅकग्राऊंडाचे आम्ही उलयतात म्हणून आज मेरेन जुवारीन खुबशे कडेन लँड यूज चेंज केला. ही ऑर्डिनन्स येतगीर तांकां करपाक मेळचो ना.
हांव तुका एक सांगता की whoever is the allottee who has got land for a particular purpose, if that particular allotee, कोणी असू तो मागीर, if that particular allottee wants to change the land, that 31A precludes.
Okay.
It rather prohibits.
ओके कालूस बाब, डू यू एग्री विथ दिस? कारण एक गजाल जुवारीच्याच बाबतीत येदी व्हडली जमीन सारखी, थोडी गेली, बरीचशी उरल्या, ते म्हणतात की थंय सुद्धा त्या जमनीचेर सुद्धा हो ब्रेक मारपाक मेळटलो म्हणून. डू यू एग्री?
See, first thing, with great respect,
या
my dear colleague Yatish apparently has not understood Article 334A of the Code of Communidades. And I will tell you why. When I mentioned that the code was initially enacted, and all these years, for centuries, it was everything by auction. 334A was introduced by the government of Goa somewhere in 1984 to provide for land without auctions. So what he read about educational institutions and all that applies for land without auction.
Sir, I am just pointing out to
No,
you
no.
the
So you-
canvas.
No. It's a question.
I know
There
what
is a
334A
difference.
says.
There's a difference between granting land on auction, where I buy at the highest rate, better than the highest rate, as against those which I get as a concession, as a discretion, as a special case. So as a special case, definitely you cannot try to take the land by saying I'm a government servant and after so many years you sell it and go to somebody else. That is one part of it. Or even convert the use of it. It's given for housing, whatever it may be given. So it's
Yeah.
in those categories. Number two, let me just lightly say, when Yatish did us a favor in the opposition by reading certain provisions and highlighting certain words, I think he has given us a key into how a new challenge can be laid in respect of another controversial project coming up. I will talk not here today, but I thank him for that. He will know what it is. But one thing,
This is the law. Unless you have not read the law and you are telling me that I have made you aware about the law for the
you
first
have
time.
not made me
then-
aware. You have
then if it is so,
highlighted it
then you
against
should
your
know
own
what is the law.
government. You have highlighted it against your government. Now I just want to
Highlighted
read.
against the
Now,
government. This is the law which I have read.
Please,
म्हाका एक कळना.
please
Pramod, म्हाका एक
look
कळना.
at paragraph
On
page
one hand,
24.
दोतोर सांगता की बरो
Please.
amendment, and on the other hand,
No,
सांगता-
I'm not talking of
म्हाका
amendment.
कळना.
You read a
You want to
provision.
blow hot and cold.
Please wait. Please,
Yeah.
Pramod, just
Yeah,
1 minute.
yeah,
1 minute.
Yeah.
Yatish, you have the judgment of Communidade of Shorao in your hand with you, which you read that previous paragraph. Can you please look at paragraph 22, and I'm going to read exactly what it says at page 24, because you said that once definitive possession is granted, subject to, now what is the subject to, what it is? It starts at page 24 on the top, and I'll just read it. It is clear that once definitive possession is granted, the appellant, that's the Comunidade, can only have the right to receive for and nothing else. Please, repeat, to receive for and nothing else. What more can you get?
बघा याच
ना हांव तुका एकूच सांगता
हय.
प्रमोद आयक म्हजें
या.
आयक पयलीं म्हणजे हांवें जेन्ना कायदो वाचलो
हय.
तेन्ना हो कायदो इतल्या वर्सांक आसा
हय, बरोबर.
तो अनलेस दोतोर सांगता
बरोबर.
फर्स्ट टायम वाचून
I'm not
दाखयलो
bad, I'm
दोतोराक
not
आयक
bad.
आयक
I'm not
आयक
bad.
हांव तुका कितें वाचलां
हय.
अंडरस्टँड जा हांवें तुका कितें सांगलां की हे जे ग्रांट आसा पळय रायट टू एन्जॉय द प्रॉपर्टी एंड टू डिस्पोज ऑफ एज इज ओन save the restrictions expressed in law.
But the same
So
exception
what I'm
is only
trying
to
to
pay the
say-
for.
ना,
Only to
बरें,
pay
म्हाका
the
एक
for,
सांग
nothing
म्हाका एक
else.
सांग दोतोराचें ओपिनियन कितें आसा की हो ऑर्डिनन्स हाडपाचें न्हय म्हणून
No.
सारकें क्लियर सांग
The ordinance
कित्याक दोनूय
does
सायडीन उलोव
not
नाका
suit.
Yeah, okay.
दोनूय सायडीन उलोव
Ordinance does
नाका
not suit the purpose.
आयक आतां जाल्यार टेल एक्झॅक्टली वॉट शूड हॅव बीन डन बिकॉज इफ यू हॅड नॉट बॉट दिस लॉ टू स्टॉप द चेंज ऑफ यूज वॉज नॉट देअर हे तुमी ओपनिंग रिमार्कान सांगलें की हो कायदो नाशिल्लो आता सरकार जर तो कायदो हाडटा जाल्यार तुमी ओपनिंग रिमार्कान सांगलें बरें हाडटा म्हणून आणि आता प्रोग्राम सोंपता तुमी सांगता की हे सारकें न्ही म्हणून म्हाका कळना हें कितें म्हणून
Yeah.
No, nothing
Okay,
like
yes, Doctor, respond to that. Yes. Then I'll go to Agarwal, sir. Yes.
See, one thing is, I have started from the beginning to say that because there is no provision in the law, and you must understand that when land vests absolutely in that allottee, after he has redeemed the ground rent, after getting definitive possession,
Yeah.
then courts have held several times, our High Court several times has held that you become absolute owner of the land. Today I buy a land under a sale deed. Can you then afterwards say, no, but you can't do A, B, C, D? I ask you one more question. Please understand this very carefully. I'm not arguing in favor of builders. I'm not arguing in favor of real estate people. You give a land to build a house. A plot of land, big plot of land is given for building a house by the Comunidade. I tomorrow can't sustain it. I decide I'm going to do a development by building villas over there, by building a building with a commercial residential. Have I changed the nature of the land? Does it help? Is this ordinance good? Because what are you trying to say? Only one case, industrial to non, and today you realized SEZ was being brought by the back door.
I'll come to you.
SEZ was being brought there at that time when it was challenged. What was SEZ? Real estate was coming in that. So you understand, it was called industry.
ओके
पण अजय सांगता एकूच मिनिट सांगता रेसिडेन्शियलाक जो प्लॉट दिवंक शकता पळय कोमुनिदाद दॅट इज टू अ मॅक्सिमम ऑफ 500 स्क्वेअर मिटर्स सो ताजेर विला
please understand. No, please, Yatish, I think you got wrong.
सांगा न्ही
That amendment, Article 334A, was challenged in the High Court by Michael Charles de Souza.
मागीर कितें
And my father was an intervener in that petition, also challenging it. And the High Court read down that law and allowed only zoneros and landless zoneros and freedom fighters, if I'm not mistaken, freedom fighters is the other category.
And government
landless, not freedom fighters, landless zoneros and government servants, landless, not more than 300, that 500 was brought down to 300 by the judgment, and also keeping an income limit.
Of 15 lakhs.
No, earlier it was
15 lakhs. No,
earlier was it. Now it has been increased to 15 lakhs in the last assembly.
I'm saying
you understand.
No, last assembly it is there for quite some time.
No, so therefore, what you are again reading is without auction 334.
No,
please
I
don't
am
look at
only
that.
trying to say. No, Doctor, please understand what I am trying to say. At the moment, was there any law to stop the change?
Okay, I'll go to
No, wait, just 1 minute.
Yeah.
As you point out, was there any law? Therefore, my argument was I didn't stand up to answer about Zuari. No, I didn't stand up for Zuari because there was no law.
म्हणून कायदो हाडटा आनी तुका आनी एक सांगता स्टँडिंग पळय अंडरस्टँड जा सी खंयचोय कायदो न्ही खंयचोय कायदो जावं कितेंय जावं कोणूय कोर्टान वचूंक शकता दॅट इज ऑल्सो बट सरकाराचे इंटेन्शन आनी सरकाराचो कायदो इंटरेस्ट ऑफ कम्युनिटी
म्हाका अगरवाल सर म्हाका मुद्दम एक गजाल जाणून घेवपाक जाय इज जस्ट व्हेरी सिंपल फॅक्ट आय एम जस्ट कमिंग टू द बेसिक पॉयंट सो दॅट एवरीबडी अंडरस्टँड्स दिस गव्हर्नमेंट इज टेकिंग अ पोझिशन दॅट बाय इशुईंग दिस ऑर्डिनन्स वी आर प्रोटेक्टिंग अ लार्ज चंक ऑफ कोमुनदाद लँड वेर द मिसयूज कॅन बी अवॉइडेड. Do you agree that the misuse can be avoided? And the misuse in terms of taking it for one purpose and then shifting it for another purpose. Do you, and that is, I think, major socio-political concern जी प्रत्येक गोंयकाराच्या तकले भितर आसा. Do you agree that this ordinance serves that purpose?
Misuse will be avoided, number one. Number two, when we using the land, you allocate for one purpose, that is allotment. Thereafter, while using it, you also take the permission from the government, from the collector, under the provisions of the LRC. If you have taken the permission from LRC to use the land for the industrial, and you are using for the residential purpose, again you are required to take the permission from the collector.
Yeah.
You cannot say कि because NA we have obtained non-agricultural purpose, now industrial से we converting to the residential. That cannot be done it. Government can I say tight the screw on this point also. If suppose Comunidad land when it is allotted or using for one purpose, other purpose, actually LRC also can take the care for that.
Yeah.
Just one small thing. I want to just
आणि जस्ट ऑन अ फायनल राउंड आय वन ऑफ दॅट लार्जर इशू जो अगरवाल सरांनी टच केल्लो की आमी परत परत कायद्याक हात लायतात. आमी ते मागीर आतां कोमुनदाद कायदो आमी ह्या वर्साकच 2दा अमेंड केला, पोरू अमेंड केल्लो. TCP एक्ट आमी परत परत अमेंड करत आसात. बाकीच्या कायद्याक आमी हात लायत आसात. So what is happening, Doctor? Why is this happening, and is that a right way of looking at as far as the amending of an act or tweaking of an act is concerned? Doctor, I'll start the final round on that.
Yeah, first I want to just clarify one small thing before answering specifically.
Yeah.
when Yatish read about the rules can't control the act.
Oh, settled.
And Rule 10, which he read, that you take permission, in my view, don't require anybody's permission when you're absolute owner of the land. There's even a fee prescribed. Yes, if you have not redeemed the ground rent, then you'll have to take your permission and then you'll have to do things.
Yeah.
Once you're absolute owner, you can't. Now coming to this piecemeal.
Yes.
Piecemeal amendment is actually not in good interest, in the state's interest, not in public interest. The reason why is, it becomes selective. The government doesn't pick and choose one case to make an amendment. The government looks at a broad perspective, and the government has to think of the state as a whole. And therefore, when I say, with great respect, when you want to, your intention and people's agitation is what? Lands of the comunidad, irrespective when they were granted, whether they are granted henceforth from today onwards or previously. They don't want those lands to be changed for the use. So my question is simple. Does this amendment achieve that objective to protect those lands which are vested in it? And my answer simple is no. You understand?
Yeah.
See, your intention may be good, you may be having many of the best intention, but if you don't succeed in the wordings, then I see it as a clever way of trying to tell the people, I've tried to do it. This is the best I could do. And now nothing else. The ball is in the court's hand somewhere else. And that can't be the thing.
This is passing the buck.
Passing the buck.
Okay. Okay. No, Yatish, I'll come to you. I'll take Agarwal sir. Agarwal sir, what is happening? Because you have been a very senior bureaucrat. तुम्ही ताजे उपरांत कायद्यांचेर काम करतात. हे piecemeal गजाली कित्याक जावपा लागल्यात? What is the reason and how to stop it?
नहीं देखो, बंद करना, ये स्टॉप करना हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. दैट इज ए लॉ मेकर.
Yeah.
Lawmaker making the law, but it has to think. Actually, when the reference come the Code of Comunidad, I was reading the Code of Comunidad yesterday also. They made specific provisions in that code. Okay, if this code has to be amended, it has to amend it thoroughly after appointing a committee, after appointing the expert, and looking what is the plus point, what is the minus point.
By
You
taking
can-
a holistic point of view.
Holistic
Yeah.
purpose. You should not be change the law which will go against the society.
So why do you think this is happening, Agarwal Bab? This time and again the repetitive tweaking of acts.
This has to be answered by the lawmaker only, who making the
बरं
law.
यतीश बाबा मला वच्ची पहिली कालूस बाब क्विकली कित्याक चल्ला अशें असेंब्ली भितर गोंयकारा खातीर हांव प्रामाणीकपणान तुमकां विचारता.
See, as far as Communidad is concerned, the Comunidad associations and many of the Gaunkars and all have raised this, that take us in confidence when making the law. Article 652, which they rely on, is not a mandate for the legislature to take them in confidence, but it's just that the suggestions are to be considered. So I believe when the government wants, like you see, where many times I have even complained in the assembly, that your bill is coming after we have passed it in the assembly. Let the general public know what is the bill. You
Correct.
know, you're seeking to introduce this bill. Let people keep their objections, plus or minus. You will know how it is. You
Yeah.
may be able to correct deficiencies. Maybe you'll correct it and then bring a perfect law.
ओके यतीश बाब म्हाका फायनल ह्या गजालीचेर सांगात एक ट्विकिंग कित्याक
सांगता पयली म्हणजे हांवें तुका जेन्ना कोड वाचलो पळय सर्टन प्रोविजन्स दॅट इज इन फूल अंडरस्टँडींग ऑफ वॉट द प्रोविजन सेज अंडरस्टँड दिस
Yeah.
हांवें कांयच मजा सांगू ना तुका
Correct.
हांवें फक्त कोडाची प्रोविजनां वाचल्या
बरोबर.
दुसरी गोष्ट हो अमेंडमेंट आसा पळय 31A दॅट इज ओनली टू टेक केअर अंडरस्टँड ऑफ द चेंज ऑफ पर्पज
Agreed.
ओरिजिनल अलॉटमेंट सो लक्षात घ्या
हय.
दिस इज इंटेंडेड टू स्टॉप द चेंज ऑफ यूज फ्रॉम द
Correct.
इंटेंडेड पर्पज टू न्यू पर्पज
Agreed.
दुसरी गोष्ट म्हाका सांग दोतोरान आतां कोम्युनिदाद कन्व्हेन्शन जाता वन्स इन 5 years हें तें सगळें ओके दॅट इज कायद्या प्रमाणे जाता नो डावट पूण म्हाका एक सांग दोतोर पळय आतां आमच्या सरकाराचेर पळय हें करता जाल्यार म्हाका एक सांग जेन्ना काँग्रेस पार्टी सरकारान आशिल्ली इतलीं वर्सां तेन्ना कितल्या फावटी कोड अमेंड जालो आनी कितल्या फावटी हो कोड अमेंड जाता आसतना तांणी कोम्युनिदाद एसोसिएशनाक कॉन्फिडन्स घेतलें पळय पॉलिटिक्स उलोवची न्हय फॉर द हॅक ऑफ इट म्हणून ऑन अ लायटर ऑन अ लायटर एकूच मिनिट लेट मी आन्सर हे तूं कितें म्हणटा हे ट्विकिंग कित्याक जाता पळय अंडरस्टँड
1.5 वर्सां भितर 3दा हात लायलो एकाच कायद्याक.
लॉ पळय अंडरस्टँड जा लॉ मरे
इंटेन्शन बरें आसता बट
हा.
होलिस्टीक विचार कित्याक जायना.
आयक हे इम्पॉर्टंट सांगलें तुवें पळय जे
होलिस्टीक मुगे दुसरो पार्ट तो इग्नोर करता.
लॉ इज डायनॅमीक
हय.
आणि जेन्ना इन्स्टन्सीस येता तेन्ना इन्स्टन्सीस कम विथ टायम तेन्ना कायदो तो अमेंड जावन टू मीट दोज टायम्स अँड टू मीट द चॅलेंजीस पोज्ड बाय टायम्स हे म्हत्वाचें जाता. आतां हो कायदो 31A जो आसा इट इज फॉर दॅट पर्पज टू स्टॉप दीस मिसयूज. आतां दोतोरान सुरू केलें पळय तेन्ना म्हणून हांव तुका सांगता दोतोरान सुरू केलें तेन्ना कशें हें केलें की दीस इज अ गुड अमेंडमेंट. आज मेरेन कायदो नाशिल्लो एक मिनिट आणि एंड करता आसतना दुसरेच तरेन करपाचें केलें आणि आतां मागीर एंडिंगाक सांगलें दोतोरान की हय हय हो सारको म्हणून. सो म्हजें माय रिस्पेक्टफूल सबमिशन बिफोर दोतोर इज दॅट पॉलिटिकल ऑपोजिशन एक गोष्ट असता आणि लिगल इश्यू वेगळो असता.
ओके
Wait, just before you finish.
Yes.
Just one. I love what Yatish says, my colleague, because let him answer that at the time when those amendments were made by the Congress, where was he?
No, I was not in
political
Congress.
party?
I joined Congress sometime.
No,
Let me
politics
I want to answer this. I want to answer this. No, I want to answer this because अरे let me answer मरे. हांव 2014 काँग्रेस जॉईन जाला. सारखे कोम्युनिदाद कोड जो मॅक्सिमम टाइम अमेंड जाला तेन्ना दोतोर काँग्रेसीन आशिल्लो आणि तांचो एजी आशिल्लो आणि तांची गोष्टी आशिल्ल्यो.
यतीश बाब आय एम ऑन अ व्हेरी सिंपल थिंग की फायनली तुम्ही पॉलिटिक्स हातूंत भितर हाडपाक
2014 काँग्रेस सरकारान आशिल्ली.
मागीर तुम्ही अळंग
ना हांव तुका सांगता कित्याक 2014 काँग्रेस सरकार आशिल्ली. आणि amendment जावना तेन्ना.
इतल्याच खातीर थांबता 2 मुद्दे जे म्हाका सामके बरे दिसले. एक सामान्य गोंयकार म्हणून पयलो जो दोतोरान मांडलो तो की अल्टिमेटली इंटेन्शन बरें आसपा जाय कायदो हाडटना आनी दुसरी गजाल म्हळ्यार त्या इंटेन्शनाची इफेक्टिवनेस फायनली त्या कायद्यांतल्यान जावपाक जाय. दुसरी गजाल की कायदो परत ट्वीक करतना मातसो एक होलिस्टीक विचार करात. आमी फाटली एटलिस्ट 3-4 वर्सां भितर कायदे ज्या स्पिडीन तुगेले ट्वीक जातात ज्या तरेन पास जातात ज्या तरेन ताजें डिस्कशन सुद्दां एकदां जायना हेंय पळयलां. तें जावची न्ही कारण अल्टिमेटली हो जो कायदो आसा ताजेर सामान्य मनशाचेर परिणाम जातात. घडये आमकां ते डिस्कशन चलतना कळना पूण जेन्ना आमी खरेंच खंयचे तरी एक एप्लिकेशन करपाक वतात किंवा आपलें काम घेवन वतात तेन्ना आमकां ताजी झळ बसता. ही आमकां जाणीव आमकांय आसपाय गोंयकाराक. म्हणून आज इतल्याचेर थांबता. अशी डिस्कशन आमी करत रावतले आनी तुमची सारकी विद्वान मनीस आमच्या स्टुडियो भितर येवचे आनी अशीच डिस्कशनां जावची इतलेंच हांव मागतां. कालूस बाब, अगरवाल बाब, यतीश बाब, थँक्स अ लॉट फॉर पार्टिसिपेटिंग. पळयत रावात प्रुडंट. नमस्कार.
मॅडम सुगंध तर इतलो बरो येता जाणा.
थँक्यू.
टिफिना वांगडा त्यो न्यूट्रिशनाच्यो गुळयो दिवपाक विसरूं नाका हा.
आता तू न्यूट्रिशनाच्यो गुळयो विसर.
कित्याक?
या तांदळातूच सगळे न्यूट्रिशन मेळटले. पंचामृता फोर्टिफाईड राईस हातूंत आयर्न, झिंक, फॉलिक ऍसिड, व्हिटॅमिन ए, बी सारकेले 9 मिनरल्स आसात. तर हे झाले नाही निरोगी आणि सुवादिक. तर पुराय पौष्टिक आहारा खातीर
पंचामृता फोर्टिफाईड राईस
असल्यास पुरो.
पुराय पोषणा खातीर पंचामृता फोर्टिफाईड राईस. घराघरांनी पंचामृता.